Imagine looking up at the night sky. For millennia, every culture has seen its own stories in the stars. Heroes, gods, cosmic animals. These stories shaped identity and explained the world. But what happens when someone with a more powerful telescope insists your constellations are wrong, and only theirs are real? This isn't just about astronomy, it's about history, and who gets to define it. The history many of us learned is like a single set of constellations. Europe at the center, the source of progress, with other cultures as distant lights. But this version is incomplete, crafted to empower some and diminish others. It's a history with missing pages, torn out on purpose. Our journey is to find those missing pages and understand how the story was changed. Who gets to write history? For centuries, the pen belonged to those with the sword. Their story justified conquest and built empires of the mind. We must look beyond the official narrative, listen for silenced voices, and search for hidden truths. Human history is a galaxy of cultures and achievements. To see only one star is to miss the beauty of the cosmos. Let's begin our exploration. Not as written by conquerors, but as lived by everyone. The real story of humanity is waiting to be rediscovered. History is written by the victors. This phrase reveals how power shapes our understanding of the past. Conquerors don't just seize land, they seize the story. They decide who are heroes, who are villains, and what counts as civilization. The pen becomes a weapon, erasing memories and redrawing maps. Mapmakers placed Europe at the center, naming lands and erasing local histories. Mapping was an act of possession. This world is ours to define. European colonialism is the ultimate example of victors rewriting history. Empires didn't just build forts, they built narratives. In their story, they were explorers and civilizers, not invaders. This narrative justified conquest and masked violence. It was repeated in books, schools, and churches until it became fact. By controlling the story, European powers framed dominance as destiny. The idea that one group was destined to rule was carefully constructed. It rested on a foundation of rewritten history, with Europe as the hero. The true story is more complex and far more global. To understand our world, we must question who drew the map and who wrote the story. Only then can we see the full picture. Before European ships arrived, the world was already ancient and full of wonders. Civilizations flourished far from Paris or London, but their achievements were erased to build the myth of European superiority. History was rewritten to start with Greece and Rome, skipping over empires like Mali. Mansa Musa's Mali was wealthy and learned, with Timbuktu as a center of scholarship. Yet colonial stories painted Africa as a continent without history. In the Americas, the Maya, Aztec, and Inca built cities and knowledge rivaling Europe. Conquerors looted treasures and burned libraries, then called the people savages. This erasure was systematic, an intellectual demolition. By denying non-European achievements, colonizers created a vacuum for their own story. Progress was claimed as a European invention, making domination seem natural. The Great Erasure paved the way for the Great Conquest. First, convince people they have nothing, then claim to give them everything. The truth is, the world's wonders were never Europe's to invent. They were always there, waiting to be remembered. After conquest by force, a quieter battle began, in the classroom. Colonial education aimed to create subjects loyal to the empire, not empowered citizens. Children learned European history, heroes, and languages, while their own cultures were dismissed or erased. Their past was painted as primitive or shameful. Mastery of the colonizer's language became the key to success. Native languages were forbidden. This created a deep cultural divide and a sense of inferiority, colonial mentality. People began to see their own traditions as backward, aspiring to be like their rulers. Psychological control made ruling vast empires easier and cheaper. When people police themselves, fewer soldiers are needed. The classroom became a battlefield for hearts and minds. The legacy of this mental conquest still lingers today. Reclaiming education is essential to reclaiming identity. The true story of a people begins with what they are taught to value. As empires grew, they needed more than force. They needed justification. Enter the concept of race dressed up as science. European thinkers classified humanity into a hierarchy, placing themselves at the top. This pseudoscience became the backbone of colonialism and slavery. Scientific studies claimed some races were naturally superior, biased, flawed, but presented as fact. This gave prejudice a veneer of respectability and justified domination. It excused slavery, land theft, and segregation as natural order. Race was a social invention, but its impact was brutally real. It became a prison for mind and body, shaping laws and beliefs for centuries. The simplicity and scientific authority of racism made injustice seem inevitable. These lies seeped into every corner of society. Understanding this history is key to dismantling its legacy. The truth: humanity's differences are not a hierarchy, but a spectrum. The colonial story often paints the colonized as passive, but history tells a different tale. Resistance was constant and heroic, yet systematically erased or twisted. Freedom fighters were labeled as savages or criminals, not heroes. Language was used to strip legitimacy from uprisings. The Haitian Revolution is a powerful example. Enslaved Africans defeated empires and founded the first Black Republic. Yet for decades this achievement was ignored or demonized in Western histories. Silencing resistance reinforced the myth that colonial rule was accepted. Teaching about defiance was dangerous. It could inspire new revolutions. By erasing these stories, empires hid their own vulnerability. The truth: colonial power was always challenged, never absolute. Remembering resistance restores dignity to those who fought for freedom. The real story is one of struggle, courage, and hope. History's silenced revolutions deserve to be heard. Museums in Europe display treasures from around the world, artifacts like the Rosetta Stone and Benin bronzes. These objects are called World Heritage, but many are evidence of theft and violence. The Benin bronzes, for example, were looted during a British invasion and scattered across Western museums. These artifacts are more than art, they are records of culture and identity, taken by force. Museums became showcases for imperial power, masking the violence behind their collections. Collecting and categorizing was itself an act of domination, implying only Europeans could preserve history. The cultures these items came from were deemed unworthy of their own heritage. Today, countries demand the return of stolen artifacts, arguing they are vital to identity and justice. Seeing heritage behind glass in a foreign land is a constant reminder of colonialism. The debate over these objects is about more than art, it's about justice and memory. Should the victors keep the spoils forever? True reckoning means returning what was taken. The past cannot be changed, but its legacy can be addressed. The Age of Empires is over, but their legacy shapes our world. Colonial borders still cause conflict. Economic inequalities follow old colonial lines. Europe's wealth was built on resources and labor from its colonies. The global economy still reflects this imbalance. Colonial education left European languages and values dominant worldwide. The West is best mentality lingers, shaping policy and personal choices. Racial hierarchies invented for colonialism still fuel discrimination. Stereotypes from the past echo in today's media and politics. These problems are not random, they are aftershocks of a twisted history. Understanding this helps us see the roots of today's inequalities. The past is not dead, it lives in our present. Only by facing it can we hope to move forward. We've journeyed through shadows and silence, seeing how stories can be weaponized and achievements erased. This knowledge is not a burden, it's a tool for a more honest understanding. Healing begins by acknowledging the wound. Reclaiming the narrative isn't about replacing one myth with another, but making the story richer and more truthful. It means restoring the achievements of Mali, the Maya, and the Haitian Revolution to their rightful place. It means honoring the voices of the colonized and the enslaved. Around the world, people are challenging old narratives, demanding justice, and preserving traditions. This is a global movement to repair the damage of historical distortion. Every story matters. The stories we tell about the past shape the future we can imagine. A history that celebrates all humanity lays the foundation for a more equal world. By seeking the full story, we give ourselves a chance to write a better chapter. The future belongs to those who tell the truth about the past.